Are you trying to decide if you're going to spend money on organic vegetables that cost more than conventional vegetables? If you are trying to make the decision between organically grown and conventionally grown vegetables, I made this video for you. I'm Dr. Hamilton Stubbs, board certified sleep specialist. I am also trained in nutrition, and I happen to be a vegetable gardener. I have been gardening for about 15 years. I completed the Master Gardener program and several other programs to help improve my gardening skills. I also garden and teach my patients about gardening. So I want to tell you a few things about gardening and why you might want to consider buying some things organically grown. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do so. And if I say something that you like, give me a thumbs up and don't forget to share the video. So when we look at vegetables, we're eating them because we want to get the antioxidants, the vitamins, and the nutrients, the minerals that are there in that vegetable. What research has shown is that organically grown vegetables, especially the onions, have about 20% more antioxidants. Now this is research that's relatively new, because if you go through the research, you'll find that years ago, researchers used to say there was no difference between conventionally grown food and organically grown vegetables. There's a growing body of research that shows that there is a difference, and this difference may be beneficial to our health. When we think about organically grown food, some people think it's organic, it's clean, and somehow I don't need to wash it. But that's exactly the opposite. Organically grown food is sometimes grown in poop. So if you don't mind eating E. coli, don't wash your organically grown foods, and you'll probably get a nice hefty dose of that, which could be toxic and fatal. So you definitely want to wash your organically grown vegetables. What researchers have found is organically grown vegetables can actually have more bacteria on them than conventionally grown foods. And the bacteria that cause problems for the most part are the Listeria, Salmonella, and E. coli. So you want to wash your vegetables and get some of that off, or at least decrease the load. But there are some good bacteria that happen to occur on your organically grown vegetables, and that's because these bacteria are in the soil, the Lactobacilli. This is a group of bacteria that is commonly found in probiotics, and probiotics can be very expensive, especially if you're trying to get millions or billions of different strands into your body. Well, you can get some of that right from your organic food, organically grown food. Another interesting thing about organically grown food is that it's not grown with certain pesticides or chemicals. And research that's been done in the last 5 years shows that some of those chemical pesticides mimic melatonin. And what that means for our bodies is that the chemical pesticide can sit on the melatonin receptor. So it's occupying the melatonin receptor, but it's not going to give us the same benefits as melatonin. Melatonin is a naturally occurring hormone in our bodies that help us with sleep. Melatonin increases in the evening, peaks between 10 p.m. and 12 midnight, and after midnight starts to taper off. When you turn on the lights, you drop your melatonin levels very low. When we get older, we don't make as much melatonin, and that's thought to be one of the reasons that older people tend to sleep in 2 phases or have more problems with sleeping through the night. So if you are having pesticides that are occupying the receptor, you won't be able to get the benefits of your melatonin, and it selectively is blocking what's called the the MT2 receptor. This is a receptor, a melatonin receptor that's involved in glucose homeostasis. So there's some now thinking that pesticides could not only increase your risk for type 2 diabetes, but it can disrupt your circadian rhythm and disturb your sleep. The other thing about melatonin is it tends to bind some of those toxic chemicals that are found in conventionally grown foods. Now, this might be good with protecting our bodies from some of those toxic chemicals, but it's also bad because it's another way that we're losing the benefits of melatonin. You want your melatonin to be high and working on your behalf. Melatonin is not only a sleep-inducing hormone, it also stabilizes your biological clock, also known as your circadian rhythm, and melatonin is thought to help fight certain cancers. Now, that doesn't mean that buying melatonin supplements will help fight cancer, but people who sleep fewer hours, have disrupted sleep, and don't make enough melatonin are at increased risk for certain types of hormone-sensitive cancers. So those are reasons why you want to consider having organically grown vegetables as often as you can. There are two chemicals in the pesticides that are used for vegetable gardenings that are particularly concerning. The carbenols. It's the third most widely used pesticide in the U.S. It's been banned in other countries. And then there's another one called carbofuran. And this is banned in the U.S., but it's used in some countries that import their vegetables to the U.S., like Mexico. And what the researchers said is these two particular insecticides bind up the receptor for melatonin called the MT2 receptor. And this is the receptor that is involved with glucose homeostasis. So what does organically grown mean? Organically grown food means that there's three major things that the person growing the food has to pay attention to: soil quality, pest and weed control, and additives. So organically grown foods rely on natural substances to nourish the soil, and they use physical, mechanical, or biological means of controlling pests or weeds. And this doesn't mean that chemicals cannot be used on organically grown food, but the chemicals that are used have to be on an approved list and must follow the federal guidelines if you want to have your food labeled as organically grown. Organically grown food is not grown in chemical fertilizers or synthetic fertilizers that aren't approved in the federal guidelines for USDA or organically grown foods. This means that sludge, which was popular a while back, is not part of the soil nourishment in organically grown foods. So what does the USDA labels mean? Because this can be almost as confusing as trying to find a farmer who will tell you that he's growing organically grown food when it's really not. You see, that happened to me some years ago when I first started eating organically grown food. I went to the farmer's market, and I met a farmer there who said he was growing organically grown green leafy vegetables. So I started buying all of my leafy vegetables from him. Now, anybody that buys organically grown food knows that organically grown food costs more than conventional. Unless there's some rare exception, you can expect that you're going to pay more. So I was paying a lot more for my organically grown food from the farmer. And then 1 year later, he tells me that it's really not completely organically grown, that he uses a little bit of pesticides, a few weeks before he harvests his vegetables. Well, this made me think, there is no way to know for sure what you are getting unless you grow your own. And even if you grow your own, if you are buying commercial products like soil or using other things that you purchase to condition your soil, you may not be getting the healthiest soil that you think you are getting. One way to help circumvent that is to do soil testing from a reputable lab, and you can find one usually at your state extension office. They can help you. But when you go into the grocery store, it can be just as murky as at the farmer's market or buying produce from someone from a stand, because there are many different labels for organic. If you're looking at 100% organically grown, this has to be certified that it meets the FDA's guideline, and for a single ingredient, that ingredient has to be made like an apple. It has to meet the federal guidelines. If you have a product that includes multiple ingredients, like an organic cookie, all of the ingredients except for the salt and water have to be certified organic. And this is what 100% organic means. Then there's just the label organic. If it's a multi-ingredient food, then at least 95% of the ingredients have to be certified as organic, excluding salt and water. When it says made with organic, these products cannot carry the USDA seal for organic foods. They have to be at least 70% certified organic ingredients. And then there's the organic ingredients label, and this means that less than 70% of the ingredients that are in this food product are organic, and it cannot carry the USDA label or seal that it's organic food. Eating organic food can be more expensive, but it's probably better for our health. I want to show you 2 tomatoes. This tomato, I bought it because it was on sale. 49 cents a pound for tomatoes is a pretty good price where I'm living. So I got a few of these, and not a lot, because I know that tomatoes are on that dirty dozen food list that's generated by the Environmental Working Group. This is an organic tomato, and when you see this label, the organic vegetables start with a 9. Now, all we can do is trust that this is actually organic, because I told you about my experience with the farmer. So this one is labeled organic, and this one is conventional. I bought these tomatoes probably about 5 days ago, and I looked in my refrigerator and they were starting to go bad. So I didn't want to throw out all of my tomatoes, and so I decided I would go ahead and stew these tomatoes. Stewing and twice cooking your tomatoes releases more lycopene than if you just eat it raw. But because these were going bad, and they were only 5 days old at my home, less than a week, I decided I better look at these tomatoes, because I bought these tomatoes about a month before I bought the organic ones. I only had a few of them, and I didn't eat them all, but still, I didn't want to have to throw them out. To my surprise, the conventionally grown tomatoes, none of them had any signs of spoilage. Now, this is good for shelf life. This means that this tomato is over a month old, and it still looks just as good as when I first purchased it. But whatever is in this tomato that is keeping it from spoiling is also going to be eaten when I eat this tomato. I don't know if we can get off all of the pesticides or whatever was sprayed on this even using these vegetable washes. So some chemical that I probably don't want is on this tomato, and it'll probably go into my digestive system. Why is this a concern? Because our gut is full of microorganisms called the microbiome. It's like a little, I say, city in your gut. And these bacteria, as well as other things there, but we're going to talk about the bacteria, they're important for your digestive system. So when we eat food, you start the digestive process by chewing it. Some of the bacteria in your mouth are going to coat that food, and when it gets into your stomach, it's going to help convert the food into something that's going to release more nutrients into your system. What the bacteria in your gut does is it breaks down the food you eat. So let's just say this tomato, I'm going to chew it. It's going to go into my stomach where some acids are going to continue to help break it down, and then it's going to go into my small intestines. This is where the bacteria, the beneficial bacteria, will eat some of this tomato, and when they break it down, the bacteria will take what it wants, but it's going to leave some nutrients in a form that is easier for my body to absorb. When you knock out all of your good bacteria, you'll be left with what I call your bad bacteria. These are the critters. These bacteria need to eat too, but when they metabolize their food or just whatever they're doing to stay alive, they will be giving off toxic byproducts that won't be healthy for you. These toxic byproducts may be what sit in our gut and expose us to chemicals, and either chemicals produced by the bacteria or what we have eaten, and over time cause problems like cancer in our colon. So only you can decide if it is worth it for you to invest in eating organically grown food. I personally try to eat as much organically grown food as I can, but eating 100% organic is very expensive, especially if you have to prepare meals for more than one person. So what I do is I use the Dirty Dozen list of foods, and those are the ones that I try to get organically grown. And you can get a link to this website and the Dirty Dozen as well as the Clean Dozen on my website at www.drhamiltonstuds.com. And when you are trying to make that decision, don't look at just the immediate. If you can afford to eat organic, think about the health benefits that are coming down the road, especially if you are able to sleep better. Sleeping well boosts your immune system, helps you build muscle, because you can't grow muscle if you're not sleeping at least 5 hours a night. A good sleep will help with your memory and your mood. So it also is very good for your skin. It's anti-aging. So there's a lot of reasons to consider the value of organically grown food. And only you can decide if you can afford to put that in your budget and if it's worth it to you. I hope this video has been helpful. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do. I would love to have your subscription. And if you want to know when my next videos come out, hit the notification button. I try to upload new videos on Wednesdays. If you like the video, don't forget to share, and I hope to see you again next time. If you have comments, please let me know, and I'll try to answer those in a future video.